Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to the channel for another update video. I just put one out very recently about the aspect system, but there's also been a bunch of other stuff revealed on today's Titan Talk. Mostly about the changes to Conquest that are going to be coming in the January update, as well as some big balance changes and new items coming as well. So we're going to be doing this on the PowerPoint that they use for the Titan Talk. There's no like official patch notes out yet, so bear with me. It's going to be a little bit scuffed, but they say, first, what needs to change about Conquest? There needs to be more to do, better flow in some areas, more interesting rewards for objectives, more vision, and a clearer emphasis on jungle as a unique role. So what we're getting is layout changes, new jungle camps, new jungle boss pickups, breakables, and jungle TTK changes. So first up, you can see here some layout changes that they're going to be going over. So red buff, previously here, they've moved that much closer to mid lane. This is obviously to solve the issue of like mid laners just missing way too many minions for going to pick up their red buff. Both at the start of the game and between waves as well, it was just way too far away for them to realistically grab it. And there is going to be a new Cyclops warrior camp over here by the side of mid lane as well, so that's made a little bit more room for a new camp in the jungle. And this Cyclops warrior camp is going to be golden experience as normal, but it's also going to drop a vision, like I don't know what to call it, but it's an item that goes into your consumable slot. You pick it up, and then when you use it, it pings everyone on the enemy team on the minimap. It's not going to give you official vision of them, so you won't be able to see like, you know, health or them through walls or even which god it is. It's just going to show you 5 pings on the enemy minimap for where the all 5 team members of the enemy team are. And so you can use that, you know, if you're like trying to sneak an objective, you can use that, see where they're at and if they're going to contest or not, or if you think they're on an objective, you can use that, see if they're on it. If you see all 5 people grouped up inside the Gold Fury pit, they're on Gold Fury. So that's a really cool new like mechanic that they've added to a jungle camp there. They have also moved yellow buff back towards the back of the map, similar to what they did in Smite 1 a few years ago. You know, Smite 1 used to have like speed buff way far up, and now it's been moved a little bit further back. There is also a Cyclops warrior camp over here now as well, as you kind of like come up towards oracles and mid lane. And I believe this one is different. I believe this is the one that gives you a ward. So there's the ping thing where it pings everyone. There's also a camp, just new Cyclops camp as well, that just gives you a straight up consumable ward that goes into your inventory. And I think this is good. You know, it allows people to ward more frequently. You have to spend a little bit less money on wards, and because wards last a little bit less duration in Smite 2, this will help with that. And also this is going to be invaluable for new players and bad players that don't buy wards. You know, you're going to be essentially forced to place at least 1 ward every so often when you clear this camp. They also moved up this left hand side of back harpies all the way up to here, so there's still going to be two sets of back harpies in addition to this new Cyclops camp. And then speed buff is going to be here, this is purple buff, and then this is dual lane. Next up though, they have also added harpy camps to the side jungles, which I think is really good. So they've got a 2 elder harpy camp and a 5 small harpy camp in the side jungles, and these are going to be right next to the teleporters, and this will be symmetrical on both sides, so both teams will have access to these. And I think this is awesome. This is kind of what I expected when I saw they were adding side jungles to Smite 2, because at the moment they are literally just a place to house the teleporters I already don't like, but adding camps to these areas is going to be really good. You know, it gives you more to do in between waves in the laning phase. It gives you more reward for having pressure, because not only do you have more time if you have pressure to go do your own ones, you could invade the enemy happy camps and stuff. Junglers could come over here like after a gank, or like maybe if they teleport over, they can clear these before they gank if they need more downtime to wait for the enemy to push out a tower with the wave or whatever. There's just a lot of potential with these, and it's really good that they're actually like adding some stuff to the side jungle that is more unique than just like a random gold Cyclops camp that was in the middle. They've also overall reduced the number of islands in the jungle, so there's just going to be like, you know, buffs, and there's going to be a couple of small islands to break things up, but it's going to be a bit more open and a bit clearer on like the pathing. It's going to be a little bit easier to path around. And this is the jungle camp that's going to drop a ward. That's what it's going to look like on the PTS at the moment. It T-poses your god, and it's quite funny, but yeah, that's what the walls are going to look like. That's from the Cyclops ward camp. And then the Scorpion camp, this is the Eye of the Jungle, I think that I was talking about, where it pings everyone on the map once. And they've got a little example of Eye of the Jungle being used here as well in one of the dev playtests. So you can see there, it uses it pings everyone is over there, which is where the bush is next to Fire Giants, so they just know everyone's in the bush. Next up for Conquest, roaming harpies are also going to be added. This is a very simple thing, but they were in Smite 1. They were added to Smite 1 in like year 10, I believe. They're going to roam around, get a little bit of extra farm as you walk past and kill them. Jungle camps are also being intentionally made harder to kill. So without the starter item, it's going to take 16 to 19. With the starter, it's going to take about 10. It's going to be especially harder for non-jungle starter, aka not the jungler, to be able to clear jungle camps. And this is going to change things substantially. I played a couple of games on the PTS already, and it definitely feels like starting a bust is going to be quite difficult now. Maybe dual lane might be fine, because they got 2 people to clear that, but it feels like solo laners and mid laners are going to have a really hard time clearing their buff in time to not miss like an entire minion wave, so maybe you're going to start in lane now instead. Fire Giant is also going to drop a new thing that you can pick up called the Obsidian Dagger, which is really interesting. So it's a special type of pickup, limited duration in your inventory, so you got to use it before it expires. And this pickup can be stolen by the enemy team regardless of who took Fire Giant, so be sure to grab that. This pickup will also drop on death, and when used, it deals 500 true damage to you, but grants 15% damage increase and attack speed for 6 seconds. And if the Obsidian Dagger were to kill you, it would instead revive you to full health. So yeah, this thing doesn't really seem too super amazing, taking that much damage just for a buff. It is a really powerful buff, but it's a lot of damage to take. But this seems kind of crazy, man. Like, if you can self-execute yourself with the Obsidian Dagger, it's like a ritual sacrifice. You come back at full health. Like, that's definitely going to be nutty. Adds a lot of extra value to Fire Giant. You know, on sieges, you can give this to your tank or whatever, and while the tank can go to Phoenix, absorbing a bunch of abilities, they just kill themselves with Obsidian Dagger. They're back to full health and can keep tanking. That's going to be pretty nutty. Definitely super exciting. Breakables are also coming. So in the Gold Fury pit, there's going to be these like silver and gold pots around. You just smack them with a basic attack or an ability, most likely a basic attack. I don't think you want to use abilities on these. And they will give you 10 to 20 gold for the gold pots and 2 to 3 gold for the silver pots. So just a little bit something extra to do as you're walking past. In Fire Giant, these little magma things will spawn as well, and these are going to grant a permanent 2 strength and intelligence buff. They're on a long respawn timer, so realistically you're only going to get about 10 to 20 strength and intelligence throughout a match if you're picking these up consistently. But again, these are in a neutral location. The enemy team are going to be trying to pick them up as well, but yeah, a little bit of a permanent strength and intelligence buff there. And finally for Conquest, in terms of the breakables, it's not really a breakable, you just walk over this one, but there's these little green wisps that float around the jungle. You can walk through them and you get 10% max health in regeneration over 10 seconds. But that is all the Conquest changes. We've already covered aspects in a previous video, which is already up on my channel if you're curious about that. Definitely check that out. But there's also some balance changes and new items coming in this patch as well, which are going to be further down here, which we'll cover as well. So for item balance, making strength items more potent in general, definitely agree with this. Strength ability base specifically feels really bad right now. Making active items feel more impactful. This will definitely help with, like, you know, giving them more impactful animations and designing them more in the vein of stuff like Cersei's Hexstone rather than like more boring just stat stick active items. Adding additional price variations, ensuring strong effects contribute enough stats to builds to feel impactful. Luxury items to help bolster choices in the late game, with a mix of these being actives and stat stick items that have traditionally felt underwhelming. So as I said, I played a couple of games of PTS and they've definitely gone pretty whole hog on these like hyper luxury items. I think Dreamer's Idol and Avatar's Parachute, the actives that grant you 20% strength increase and increase respectively. Those items now have nutty base stats. Like Avatar's Parachute has 100 base strength and a 25% strength increase on the passive, buffed up from 20%. But that item costs like 3,850 gold or something ridiculous. So they're really going whole hog on, like, there are true luxury items that if you want to buy them in the late game, they're going to give you a lot. 100 strength on a single item is just more than we've ever seen in Smite. You know, it's basically the equivalent to physical power. We've never seen 100 physical power on a single item before. Even at its peak, I don't think a full stack Transcendence with a high mana build would hit 100 strength, maybe just about. But that thing's got a base 100 strength and also a 25% increase from the active effect. More balance will be coming for this update and certainly in the hotfixes immediately after the update, so keep the feedback coming. So yeah, this is just an initial like kind of round of balance that they're looking at. Definitely things will change and new things will be added for the January update, because of course we're still about a month out from all of this stuff officially dropping. So strength item buffs: Tech Hokage 10 more, Pendulum Blade 5 more, Yone's Revenge 10 more but a slight cost increase. Swan Spear 5 more, Executioner 10 more, Reaper 5 more. Now applies its benefit when you hit an enemy god rather than only when you hit a god below a threshold. Okay, so you're going to get that stacked up really quick. Stacks increased from 3 to 6. The lifesteal decreased accordingly. The strength decreased accordingly. Hydra's Lament 10 more strength, slight cost increase, or pretty major cost increase actually. Brawler's Ruin, pretty major cost increase, but 15 more strength. Ragi's Harp 10 more strength, but 10 less int. Racer of the Abyss increased the attack speed by 5%. Avenging Blade 20 more strength and fixed a couple of issues. 50 more health as well, but 300 gold cost increase. So again, they're trying to make some items a little bit more luxury. Active items getting some updates as well. So yeah, as I said on the PTS, like this is Avatar's Parachute, 3,700 gold, but 100 strength based on the item and 25%. And you're also displacement immune, which makes sense. You know, you're absolutely huge. I think displacement immunity makes sense for this. Dreamer's Idol getting similar changes, 1,000 gold cost increase, 135 in and 25%. Eye of Providence, killing a war grants you an additional 50 gold. So if you're really trying to play that war game, you're going to get some extra benefit. Jade Scepter, enemies hit by the area also lose 25% strength and int, so if you're using this to peel for yourself, you're going to take even less damage. Lifebinder, decreased cooldown. Screeching Gargoyle, enemies hit by the area also lose physical and magical protections. So kind of like an inverse of Jade Scepter. You know, if you're going on someone and then you're Screeching Gargoyle to stop them getting away or whatever, you're going to do even more damage to them. And 25% shred is pretty massive. You know, items don't generally have 25%. I think Executioner does, but like Titan's Bane and Obsidian Shard are only 20%. And this is protection reduction, which is even more valuable. Your teammates benefit from it as well. Phoenix Feather, cooldown goes down by a minute, and this effect now pulses out a ring of fire around you on activation that deals 10% max HP true damage. Jesus Christ, if you've seen the new Thanatos aspect, this is going to be absolutely nuts with him. I like it though. Phoenix Feather is an item I've really liked playing around. It's just been kind of too bad to build realistically. Stampede, they have increased the duration. Instead of getting 30% instantly, you gain 60% scaling down to 20, so you're going to get a massive boost of movement speed like instantly, and it will decay off. And they've also added the slow cleanse, slow immune to this as well, which is going to make it a lot better at countering slows, kind of like the Heavenly Wings did in Smite 1 for the longest time. And you also get 20% attack speed. Dagger of Frenzy, they have decreased the basic attack damage from 40 flat to 10 plus 2 per level. So an overall increase at level 20, but if you're buying this any earlier than level 20, you're probably going to be getting less value. They have changed the duration from 6 seconds to the next 5 basic attacks. They have decreased the cooldown to 15 seconds, and killing a god immediately resets the cooldown. So you're going to be constantly popping this Dagger of Frenzy in a fight multiple times is the idea. Kin size, they have decreased the maximum health damage, but it now deals an additional 4% of the difference between the users and targets max health. So yeah, similar to what they did in Smite 1 with Kin size eventually, you know, making it so that it's way more effective against tanks, but less effective against squishies. I think this does make sense. Hiding the Nemean Lion, more reflect damage, more active reflect damage, and increase the duration on the active as well. Yogi's Necklace decreased the health regen massively, but added a new effect of 0.5 max health and mana per second, kind of like Stone of Gaia from Smite 1. Hussar's Wings, massively increased cost, increased physical and magical protections, increased health, and active has been replaced by a passive. You are now immune to slows. Wow, that is nutty. Obviously, the active on this was very useful. It was on a pretty low cooldown and gave you a lot of movement speed. It was kind of like a self-sprint with also slow immunity. But yeah, just straight up making you immune to slows. It's a very costly item, but the base stats are pretty good. But yeah, this is going to definitely hard counter any gods that are heavily reliant on slows, like Chak, for example. Wish Granting Pearl, probably the largest cost increase we've ever seen in Smite history, 1300 gold. But they have also increased the imp by 40, the health to 500, and the mana by 100 as well. So yeah, that is now some pretty nutty stats on it, but of course, as they said earlier in this presentation, they are going for some hyper luxury items to make the late game more interesting, and that is definitely a hyper luxury item. Typhon's Fang gets 10 more int, Shifter's Shield gets more strength from the passive, Leviathan's Hide 10 more physical prots, Sphere of Negation, massive cost increase, massive magical protection increase, 100 is absolutely nutty. Elixir of Strength and Elixir of Intelligence, these consumables will now stack their effects with subsequent purchases. Oh my lord. That is nutty, man. So I guess, you know, if you do end up in like an hour-long game, you could get potentially like 3 or 4 int pots stacked, and then you're just doing absolutely ridiculous damage. Purification Beads, they have decreased the cooldown. Phantom Shell also decreased the cooldown and increased the shield health. And that will be it for the balance changes, which is already an absolutely massive patch. This is like one of the biggest balance patches we've ever seen. It's going to really shift up the item meta. This addition of like hyper luxury items as well is really interesting. But there's also going to be some new items in this update. So Dominance is being added. It works basically exactly the same as Smite 1. I don't think I need to explain it too much. Odysseus Bow is also being added. Works basically the same. 45% attack speed on this item though, which is a lot. Lenean Bow, also a new one. 40 strength, 30% attack speed. Active, fire a poisonous arrow that pierces all enemies in front of you, dealing 130% basic attack damage and inflicting them with 40% reduced healing, and it can crit and passes through walls with a 20-second cooldown. So yeah, an active item that can allow you to just ping people. Anti-heal for hunters as well is like a new niche that's going to fill. And that's all of them for now, but I believe there might have even been a couple of other ones on the PTS that I saw. I can't exactly remember from my games, but there might be more than this by the time January officially rolls around. But these are the ones that they've got in the game at the moment for like the flash tests and stuff like that. But yeah, there you go. That is all the Conquest changes that are going to be coming for January and that are currently live on the flash test, as well as all of the item balance, making some like absolutely hyper luxury items and stuff like that. It's going to be really interesting. As I said, I've already got a video on all of the aspects and stuff like that out on my channel if you're curious about that. But yeah, let me know, what do you think of the Conquest changes, of these crazy balance changes? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.